The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, that's what we're discussing here on the day specifically. Now, when we look at the action where we're at, we talked about a few things going into, this Monday from Friday. Okay. Now, first we'll go over Nasdaq, but I think SPY gives us a little bit more of kind of where we're at and why we bounced. In my opinion, here on the daily, we're going to start higher time frames, work our way back down. In my opinion, you're clearly hearing a bull flag on NQ. Very, very clear. You're making higher lows so far, going back into end of September. You're bouncing off that 14.6 support, very strong. Now, I'm going to go to ES in a second, but when we look at SPY, I think, again, this gives you the best overall answer. We go back and we talked about where we were, okay? So we give you a quick zoom, go back to, I believe, August 2022 highs, right about there. It's a 431.5-ish, give or take, okay? You zoom back in roughly to around the 1 hour. We look at where we kind of closed on Friday, right? Right above that level. We had some candles below, but ultimately the daily closed right above that level. We can go to the daily and see that, okay? Fast forward to this morning, pre-market, we get a push up, and then we just continue to hold at these levels as well. Ultimately, since around October 10th, you can even go back further. We've been kind of range trading in this area. This is just the ultimate level of where we've been pinballing back and forth. Now, we can see a lot of support as well going back into ES and looking at these levels around locally. I believe down here, that 4,300 point has been huge, as well as the 200 SMA that's down there as well, right? So these are all levels we've been watching and kind of maintaining above. Now, this was the local target when we were bouncing 44.20. And I keep saying this, if you watched last week's videos as well, you got to mount to above 44.20 to have clear continuation to the upside. Same thing for NQ, 15.4. You have to mount and hold 15.4 to have clear continuation to the upside. So it's not surprising that we get to these levels and then we find turbulence and resistance, specifically on higher time frames. Like when we look, at the 4-hour time frame here. Our first test of this level, you get rejected back down, and then we bounce pretty strong back out of that level. This is textbook of what we like to see. Just like when we came back down to this level the first time, or even the second time, right? You came down, you bounced, you came back down, then you broke. Now, I'm not going to say that you're going to have a major retrace or anything like that, but along these lines, it makes sense of where we're at. Okay, so that's why I always say, when we get to these levels, that's when it's time to be patient. Now, I understand what's happening in Iran and Middle East and all this stuff happening with Israel. I get it, scary stuff, but we can't predict what's going to happen or who's going to get involved. We can only talk about what's happening on the charts and going into tomorrow. So I'm not going to waste my time and throw random curveballs and, ideas that are going to happen out of there. I'm not the oracle. I'm not going to tell you who's going to win the war. I don't know, okay? But what we do know is where we're at and how we're reacting. Now, before we go into any more content, I ask you to do two things. Consider liking and subscribing. It helps with the channel tremendously. Appreciate all love and support. The Discord link is also down below if you are interested, but never feel obliged. You're going to get rich quick doing this. It's not a signals Discord. It's a Discord to help you understand how we trade, why we trade, what we're getting in, what we're getting out of, and why we're doing it. So hopefully you can trade on your own, right? Giving you a little bit of a visual today from Discord. These are all members so far trading today. AVGO, AMD puts. You have people trading calls on Amazon this morning, what we liked. People holding AMDs over the weekend, etc. Right? We had some NVIDIA puts over the weekend, right? Giving you a visual. But it's never going to make or break you. You have to be able to understand and have a foundation for yourself and trade on your own down the line. So that's where we're at right there. Quick visual of the video today. Still, if you're looking for upside, what am I going to say? Nasdaq above 14 or 15.4, very bullish. ES, S&P futures above 44.25, incredibly bullish. Below that, you're still in a range. Okay, understand that. Now, if you're looking for confirmation to the downside, the easiest level to watch for me is SPY, 431.5. Below that, pretty weak. Okay, but I have to be able to identify where we're at here. You're still in the range. You're still getting rejected so far. That's where we're at. Okay, now I do want to go a little bit over a few things with the DXY and oil before we go back into equities. Now, specifically here on oil, we saw that bounce out of this overall support down here. And again, if you get below $82, I think oil is very weak. But right now, Iran is just like up in the air. Everyone's like, are they going to get involved? They keep saying they're going to get involved. We just don't know. Okay, so you're just range bound here so far. The fact that oil's not tracking back up to 94 though is good news in my opinion. And it's just like a support bounce so far. You go into the dollar DXY, we saw that bounce out of support, and you dip today. Not ideal, not great. You go over to yields. These look a little bit more concerning. But again, they usually track the dollar slow and they lag. So you got to be paying more attention here, and we got to wait. Now, it's also important to understand that we've had Fed members coming out. And again, this is just what Fed members are saying. This is not what Tyler's saying. Again, I just report what's happening. Okay. Fed members, we've had multiple say that they believe rate hikes are done. They're happy with where inflation's at, and they believe we're on the downturn of it. Okay. It's also really important to realize from this last CPI reading, even though it was higher, the number one thing that was rising was shelter. Okay. So when we look at overall broad inflation, okay, oil wasn't the leading thing moving this past month, which was kind of crazy, and I kind of can't believe it. But you have to anticipate oil will continue to drop if this continues as well. Okay, so what I'm looking at, okay, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so again, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so looking a little bit further, I don't want to spend too much time here just so you guys can see. Also to VIX, I know people have questions. A lot of people are asking about Friday's video, but again, I say this all the time. VIX, I'm only charting it like on the daily. I don't care about like the 5 minute or 1 hour. Again, above 20, you're concerning. Above 24, very concerning. Above that, very, 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 very concerning. But we get to this 20 level and then we just reject. Okay. So again, still tracking back down there. And that's where we're at right now. Okay. So I'm watching where we're at. I'm watching how we're moving. Overall, not concerned heavily on the downside yet. But there is still the chance, and I'm still mentally prepared if Iran has to get involved and what that means for the economy. It'd be very bad. Okay. So again, understand that. If you have questions about anything I just said, that's like the broad base of this video of understanding what's going to happen over the next few days. Okay. Understand that. Where we get continuation to the upside, where we get continuation to the downside. I think it's simple. I think I'm clear. If I'm not, please, ask the questions. Now, when we look at today, very interesting behavior that we see as a whole today. Okay, a little bit into IWM, getting another bounce out of that 170 level we talked about. So you keep bouncing out support across the board, right? You go to Dow, DIA. What's happening here? Very good behavior. Very, very good. I mean, like really, really holding up, breaking local highs, holding up very well. Very strong behavior there, okay? So that's something out of the norm. Now, we dive back into SPY. We look at XLK and things like that. Tech. Tech kind of sideways here. Now, the one area on the market today that I didn't like was semis. You didn't see any continuation there. NVIDIA starts to get back above, 460. I think you're cooking there. You closed above it. If we can, really start maintaining above this, I think you're back to booking. I think you're back to upside over 464. That's good behavior. I think semis kick back in. We start seeing that bullish behavior from semis. But today we saw a lot of the love on other names, right? We saw names like Amazon performing better. We saw a downgrade on Apple today. And we saw what was happening in China with those sales numbers still coming down, but Apple still held up, all things considered. Very shocking, very surprising. That was pretty big on itself. I thought Apple would have a red day. That was good. Meta, again, nice bounce back as well. Again, so you're noticing a common theme here. Resilience among tech names still. Very shocking, right? I thought after Friday there was a little bit of reason for concern, but we saw where SPY was and we had to kind of be like, okay, look, we could still bounce pretty easily. And you're seeing that. So again, what I want to just throw out there is we've seen these failed attempts on both sides before. We've seen it on, when we're pushing primarily to the downside where bulls cannot push us up. We see buyers very weak, and we've seen it here on the downside when we saw, a lot of this year to where they try to push us down to the downside, but they couldn't really get continuation or follow through. And then we'd continue to make higher highs and higher lows. And so that's what I'm watching for right now across the board. Now I'm going to go over a few names I'm liking and names that I'm watching. So hear me out. If you have questions, again, comment down below. I'd love to go answer over those. But again, we'll go over some. And I have a big name, but I'm going to mention this big name later on in the week. It was a big name I've mentioned in Discord. Jay called it out. But again, I think there's a lot of opportunity though this week and over the next few days and weeks as well. But before, and so I don't forget, also understand we have earnings season starting pretty much right now. Wednesday, we're going to have Netflix and Tesla. So pretty big earnings, and that's going to start, a whole nother thing. So next week we have more tech earnings coming out as well. So just be prepared for that, especially. Now, Tesla, we'll go over Tesla first. Going over Tesla, a few things I want to mention. You're above 252. You have a minor key level there, but you're really looking for 259. You get above 259, you look really good, but I'd be watching this tracking back up to 259. Also would be watching the daily 100 SMA right here on Tesla. I've been saying this a lot. Your 100 daily SMA is pretty big across the board when it comes to most equities right now. You're just grinding above it and you're bouncing. So above that, you look pretty decent in the short term. You're looking for 259 while you're above the 100 SMA. Amazon, number 2. Really liking Amazon above the 100 SMA. I said it and I posted it on Twitter over the weekend. And again, if you're not following on Twitter, I recommend you do so. Again, you're seeing everything I'm talking about, stock charts, everything in between, news throughout the day, what I'm covering, watch list. It's all there for free. Again, more free content. It's all there on Twitter. So as you can see, you're mounting above the 100 SMA, trying to push back up. Now, the one level I've been watching is trying to get that daily gap fill at 135.18. I still think you want to get that. I started trading this today above basically VWAP, been grinding all day. Looks decent, had to close some, but again, you look pretty good. I'm looking for a retest of highs of 134, but ultimately, again, that gap fill is what we're looking for there. Okay, NVIDIA, pretty simple here. The same thesis that I had before. Above 464, really strong, worth longs. Below that, I'm not a super big fan in the short term. Going to keep it really clear there. AVGO, I know a lot of you guys are asking about this one. It's really interesting. A lot of you guys get focused on names after they run. So usually when names run like this from 800 to 900, I'm not going to trade them anymore. I'm just kind of done. But one thing I will say about AVGO is you're back at all-time highs. Basically, you're just sitting there. If we get a breakout on the Nasdaq and continuation from ES, I do believe AVGO is going to push through all-time highs. Personally, it's just a brick wall at 920 right now. You're going to need indexes to help you out there. So again, I'd be watching that, but no real reason to be over trading or trying to trade this a lot. Personal opinion. Next up, Meta. I've been watching Meta a lot. Above 320, it looks really good. This was kind of the reason for our first trade. Was back here when we broke above 320. We did start trading this last week. You pushed up to 326. We were already done though. But again, above 320, it looked good. You've been waiting for that test of 331. You kind of got it on the 12th. So I've kind of taken a step back on Meta personally. Again, if you start getting a breakout from indexes, I think you can break over 331 and start seeing fireworks. But again, something to think about there. Netflix, I know you guys are going to be asking about, trading earnings. I hate trading earnings. No desire to do it. Think it's incredibly risky. Do it at your own risk. But you're below a few key levels here now. When we go to Meta specifically. So this is your 200 SMA on the daily, your 100 SMA on the daily. Okay. You're breaking below some big levels here, right? Very, very concerning. Now, again, let me bring this level down here. You can kind of see right there. You're holding that 350 range now. You have earnings coming up again, Wednesday, I believe. Be careful. You're going to get if earnings perform well on Netflix, this is a great example. Meta was a good example a few months ago. You might get an impulse move that you'll miss, right? Let's say tomorrow, for instance, Netflix comes out, great earnings, they shoot up to 400. Now, does that mean I'm going to buy at 400 immediately at open? Probably not. You're going to have an opportunity to get in a pullback, something along those lines, or at least get some stagnation with some confirmation to push you back up. There's never a reason to just jump the gun with FOMO or anything like that. Be patient and just wait for that action, guys. I can say this so many times, but I know someone's not going to listen. They're just going to do it either way. But again, Tesla, Netflix, there's no reason to trade these earnings. Just be patient. Wait for it to come to us, guys. You're going to have it. And I promise I'm going to cover it. If the earnings go well or they go really bad, I'll tell you where I see them going either way. So again, there's no real reason, especially when you have these major levels in front of you now. It's going to be hard to break above 373 now. That's a major, major, major level. Again, the last time you were below this was way back here, October 2022. The last time you were below the 200 SMA on the daily. Think about that. Very, very big level to be watching. It's been almost a year now. So again, think about that. Think about where you're going and think about kind of the risk that you could be playing here. I don't want to go too much into anything else. Microsoft is the last one I actually will go over. Pretty wild name. Bizarre. You can see the kind of downtrend that we've been kind of stuck in here. But again, I've been saying a lot. I've liked Microsoft. I didn't trade this one. Kind of kicking. It sucks. I'm not gonna lie. I hate that I missed this. So this morning you had really interesting behavior. You shot up above 130. I didn't see it. It's this is a good example of how I miss opportunities and trade setups that are right in front of me. You came right down to the 100 SMA and bounced, and you went straight up to 336. I mean, what an opportunity. Congratulations if you played it. I just didn't. And now you're kind of mounting that 332.5 level, still holding up nice. I still think Microsoft's a great name. And again, you're going to notice a common trend in some of these names that are performing really well. We mentioned a lot of these. But again, you need that confirmation on indexes. So I'm not big on swinging a lot of things. I have one swing trade that I just opened, but that's about it. But the biggest thing I can say here is be patient right now, especially with the tech names. Tech names are very, very risky. And once if stuff hits the fan here, we could see a lot of downside very quickly on these tech names as well. So don't be naive to thinking like, you're going to catch the play and you're a genius. It happens to the best of us. Be careful, understand your risk. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.